Okay guys, we're going to pick up exactly where we left off in the other one. I wrote this problem down and then I said this is why we're going to put this in a second video. Because once you know the laws of logarithms, you still have to be able to handle any situation. And radicals, well, we've already talked about them. This is a power. This is a root. Hey, this guy's got a power. They just didn't write it in. So what I'm trying to get at is this. We have to rewrite anything that's in radical form so that it's in fraction exponent form. The power is 2, the root is 3. The power is 1, the root is 3. Then on the bottom, the power is 5. The root is 4. So, if I'm about to take the log of all this information here, let me get that arrow out of the way. Well, then I would have the log of x to the 2/3 plus the log of y to the 1/3 minus the log of z to the 5/4. And then I would take all of these exponents and bring them down front so that I'm actually expanding this completely. So it would be 2/3 log x plus 1/3 log of y minus 5/4 log z. And this would be the correct expansion for my original question. So, here's the thing. When you are evaluating logs, you could either be in fraction exponent form or you could be in radical form. I want you to be comfortable with both and just reminding yourself, the power, the root. There's a power, there's a root. Roots go on the bottom, just like in a tree. They come out of the bottom. So, let's just play around with a couple of these because they might do something like this next. They might say log of, and then they give you one of these big roots. And then they give me something like this. X over 2. Well, it's a cube root of x divided by 2. Well, they didn't write any powers in, so these must be 1s. And every number has a power. If they don't write it in, it's a 1. So, I do not have any product in this, but I could rewrite this statement so it says log of x to the 1/3 over 2 to the 1/3. Because if it's a big root, it hits both top and bottom information. So once again, here we are. I'm going to say this would look like log x to the 1/3 minus log 2 to the 1/3, and then I would bring it down in front because that is the power rule that I get to use. So I'd end up with this as my expansion for the problem. So what do you do if they start you off with an expansion? So let's do a little bit of single log work. So we're going to rewrite each of the following as a single log. So what if they gave me something like this? 1/4 log x plus 3/2 log y. Well, my first step would be to bring these back up. I would bring the power back up, and that would then end up looking like this. But the next step would be I'd have to create a product, and if I'm in fraction exponent form, that's fine. I'm done. But if they ask me to write my final answer, as a radical, well, for this one, I have two different roots. I have a fourth root and I have a square root. So I would have to rewrite this as x fourth root times y. Now, what number should I put up here? What number should go right there? The 3 or the 2? That would be the 3. I turned that question mark into a 3. And then, if it's a square root, I don't have to write in the index number. I can leave that blank. Whoop. Oh, come on. Why are you doing that? I just want to erase it. Okay. So, that would be my final answer, working backwards to write this as a single log if they wanted it in radical form, which, by the way, I'm going to ask you to write your answers in radical form just so you practice some skills. We don't lose any of the stuff we talked about before. Roots and powers can be written as radicals. So, when you do see the assignment, it'll say write each as a single log, use radicals. And since I'm here, by the way, what if the original problem they gave me, what if the original problem was base 5 or base 10 or base, well, if it's base 10, I don't have to write the base in, but if it's base 5, I would be considered wrong if I did not write the little base number in there. So just a reminder, writing in base numbers and things like that if you have to. So what if they gave me something like this? Well, I have a root, which means both of these guys are to the first. This would be a square root. They just don't write it in. But it enables me to expand this out. You got it. So if I give you single log, you're going to expand it. And if you're going to expand it, you might find that you actually skip some steps for me when you're doing the work. And that's okay by me. This is one of those lessons that once you get the hang of it, a lot of people do these without showing any work. Whoop, log y. Whoops, not loy. Log y. That's log 5. Okay, so I mean, that's an expansion. And remember, if I were to do this backwards, this would get pulled up. It would. I would do this in reverse. I would get it back to single log form, and then if they're asking for radicals, convert everything back into radical form. Let's try one more. So let's say I want you to take let's do a minus because we did a plus on the last one. So if I said, what is this as a single log? I would say, pull up the 2/3, pull up the 4/5. So I'd have log A to the 2/3 minus log B to the 4/5. And then I would have to say, well, this is a quotient. I could also convert these guys into radical form right now if I wanted to. I could say, hey, you are the same thing as the cube root of a squared. And I could also say, hey, you right here are the same thing as the 5th root of b to the 4th. So when I do write this out, this guy would be the top of my fraction. This guy would be the bottom of my fraction. And this would be single log form. This would have been my expanded form. So just so you know, once you get through the idea of what these laws can do, You can either expand it or contract it, and just keep in mind, if this base was a 4, let's say, when I get to the final answer, I'd have to have a little base 4 there. So, guys, here's the practice problems I want you to do. I have these ones. This is for Unit 4, Video 3. It's going to say Part B on YouTube. Well, there, the top part, it says rewrite each using the log properties. So 1 through 15, you're going to expand them. You're going to write them in an expanded form. And then the other ones, it says rewrite each using a single log. And then it says use radicals. So you'll notice for something like, number 19, that's a 1/2. That's going to turn into a radical. There's a 1/4. That's going to turn into a radical, etc., etc. And I was very lazy with this one. I did not put any special funky bases in there. I only used base 10, so I wouldn't have to write in the base. Here are the answers. Okay. So there you guys go. You got the answer key. All right. Catch you later.